Alright, for this section you're going to determine the selling price based on the cost. Earlier you did it based on the you determined the selling price based on determine the selling price markup based on the selling cost. This time you're going to do it based on the cost. So first formula that we're going to have for this one, it's going to say that the markup is going to be equal to the cost multiplied by the markup rate. And that's the first formula. Second formula is you're going to take the selling price and then that would be the cost plus your markup. Okay? So for that particular thing, if you want to find the selling price, we got to figure out the cost and we got to figure out what the markup is. And then once we do that, we just add them together and we have our final answer. So for number one, it says that the cost is $50 and the markup is 70% of the cost. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the markup, that $50, and we're going to multiply it by 0.7 because that's 70%. $50 times 0.7 is $35. So what you just found on there is you just found the markup. So now to figure out the selling price, you take the cost, 50, plus the markup, 35, and get a grand total of $85. That's how much you should be selling your item for. So on number one, they're going to ask you for what's the markup and then what's the selling price. So again, we're going to be multiplying it. Keep in mind when you move it over, it's got to be moved over 2 spots, 2 decimal places, not 1, not 2, or not 3 or whatever. It's got to be 2 decimal places every time. So on number 2, it tells me that the cost is $140 and the markup is 150%. Okay? So when you move 150% over, that's 2 spaces, that's 1.5. So I'm going to multiply that by 1.5 and that gives me 210. So 210 is the markup. Again, for something like this, it could be a Columbia jacket for all that we know that costs Shields $140 to get it, but they're going to mark it up $210 more in order to sell it to you for how much? So that 210 plus 140, which is what it costs, would equal $350 is what the retail price would be. Okay? Again, number 3, milk costs $2.60. It says the markup is 5% based on of the cost. So I'm going to take $2.60 and I'm going to times it by 0.05 because remember it always has to move over 2 decimal places like that. And that gives me 13 cents. Then to figure out the selling price, we're going to take our $2.60 and we're going to add to it our 13 cents. And we get $2.73 for the milk, whatever that happens to be, whether it's a gallon or a pint or a quart or whatever, but that's the selling price. Number 4 talks about a file cabinet that costs $64. The markup is 50%, so I'm going to multiply it by 0.5. That'll give me $32. So then to find the final price, I take the 64, which was the cost, plus the $32, which is the markup, and the file cabinet sells for $96 total. So that's how you're going to do this section today. They're all like that. A couple of them, be just careful when you read it. Make sure you read through it carefully because they will be, and make sure you move the decimal over 2 spots. So that's how you do section 7. So again, that starts on page 535 and goes to 537 or 36, and it's 1 through 20. All right. Make sure you work hard, get your stuff done, and then if you are done with it and you have other missing work, make sure you get that done and caught up. Okay? I'd hate for you guys to waste your time and sit there and screw around instead of actually doing your job. So make sure you get that done, and I will see you guys Monday. Later.